What's up? Hello, hello. How's RuneScape going? We were playing some Overwatch Season 1 yesterday. It was pretty fun. New characters are nice. What's up, Egg? How you doing, sir? Slayer tasking? I feel like I probably knew what that meant at one point in my life. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I got to go pick something up from outside, and then we'll get started. We're going to go through the gameplay premiere and talk MLB 26. So I'll have it up on the screen here in a sec. You can just save me some for later. Oh, all right. Got myself my melt and dip milkshake. We are good to go. Gotta have it. Okay, let me see how I want to set this up. I think I could put it straight on. Pretend not to be disappointed on March 13th. You think so? Pretend not to be. Our ball day is coming up. Wait, what did we decide? Is that this weekend? I actually need a ball day so bad. I was just thinking about that this afternoon. Ought to be. Let's make it happen. I need it. Let's make it happen. I think I'm free all weekend. Who's ready to pretend not to be disappointed? So you think we are destined to be disappointed? As in, first of all, disappointed would mean we have high expectations. So do we have high expectations? That's the first question. I had to say something that I thought that would hit. Texting the guy right now, nice. Good. If not, we'll just show up at his house anyway. What you said about guys breaking their handmade? Someone said similar to guys holding the bat differently to get more bat speed. Ah, that makes a lot of sense. That was like one of the first things I thought of. I was like, are these guys all training like at the same place? Like, were they all training in the same place this off season, and then like they're all just like linked to like someone like breaking their hands, not intentionally, but like something like that. Like Driveline's doing something weird this year. Can't be disappointed on March 13th if your expectations are low enough. Greg says, want to bet? I like it. I like the energy so far because there's a lot to unpack here today. How are you guys feeling so far? before we get into the details of gameplay, from what we've seen so far, how are you feeling about MLB 26? And has it moved the needle? Has any of the stuff that they brought up changed? Whether or not you're getting the game or whether or not you're excited. Judge on the cover because they're bringing back 18 set expectations there. Yeah. Yeah, true. That part is locked in. Ready for this random 2-month co-op streak and then quitting? Honestly, unironically, that might be the best way to enjoy the game these days. Unapologetically. Just you go for it. You go hard for 2 months. And then it's like you never think about it again. And that's fine. But you had a great 2 months. I want to go through the video. I don't really want to watch the video because if you watch the video, or if either you probably watch the video because you care or you don't care enough to watch the video, so we're not going to like watch it directly, but I'm going to skim through it so I can remember exactly what they talked about and maybe play some clips just to like lock in on a couple of things that they said. No immortals and no useless collection memorabilia. I reject your premise. Hey, we don't know that yet though. Maybe they do. Maybe they find a way to include worthless memorabilia. I feel like they didn't talk about that. What's it called? So they talked about big zone hitting a lot, but they didn't really talk about that like PCI. What did they call it? Like locked PCI or something? Locked zone hitting or something like that. So that was interesting. They didn't really talk about it, but they did put it in this video, I think. Big zone and then fixed zone hitting.
Keep your PCI there for the whole at-bat. Couple that with our brand, you focus on a specific part of the
this
plate
was interesting
and keep your PCI there for the whole at-bat.
He explains it as you start your PCI in one spot and you keep it there for the whole at-bat is what he said. But then I think it's actually like they were talking about the PCI sensitivity, and it's actually like the stick never returns to the center, or the PCI never returns to the center when you let go of the stick, which is something that I talked about like 4 or 5 years ago when people started talking about PCI sensitivity, because it makes sense with the way that they had it set up. So that's exactly what they said briefly in the feature premiere, is that they had to decouple your stick mapping with the PCI in order for them to do that. So it's going to act more like a mouse movement, basically. Do you really think SDS would be dumb enough to think, hey, remember that 1 year where they hit everything we did? Let's do that again. You know what? Don't answer that. Smart man. Smart man. No, but in seriousness, no, I don't think they would. I think they've learned from their mistakes. I still think there's like stuff about the way they did that they could recreate in some massive grinds. Again, I think a big problem with Immortals was, the other half of the problem was like the fact that you only had one lineup and you couldn't do a grind lineup. Not that I think they would go back to it, because I think they also realized like some people are willing to grind it out in like 4 days, which is what I did. Something along those lines. And other people like never get to it by the end of the year. So that creates a disparity. And I think that's a bigger thing that they don't want to try to have in the game again, if they can avoid it. With such a big jump from like whatever they had at the time, like maybe 93s up to 99s, like they thought that people would just take a month to do it at least, and so that there would be like some kind of overall curve in the background. But then I think 18 was when they really learned what like hardcore gaming could be for their game. It's just like stuff that I don't think they expected from the gamers. It sounded like that's how they described it when I remember watching some of those videos about Immortals later on. That's the vibe that I got from them, was that they're like, wow, I don't think we realize how crazy some people could be when it comes to grinding. I miss Griffey Jr. being better than one guy having a good week. Yeah. I do think they nerfed that this year though, right? They did a better job of like taming down the Tops Now cards, I believe. Trying to think off the top of my head. They do have really good Player of the Month cards. Like those are still stacked. But I think all the Tops Nows, they probably didn't go higher than like 95s or something, right? Set expectations the same level as the White Sox IRL. Honestly, like that's actually exactly where I'm at. I'll elaborate on that in a second. Don't miss Tops Now being absolutely useless. You don't miss it. Or you do miss it. Wait, you don't miss them being absolutely useless. I miss when attributes have a realistic meaning. Bad take, I know. Hello, due to the food. I agree with you, Angel. Like, there's probably a fine line. And this is what I was kind of talking about last week too. Is that it would be cool to have a more of an attributes overhaul, and we'll get into that today too, because that's something they talked about in the feature premiere. And I was thinking they would do a little bit more with the attribute overhaul, but they did a few things that I think could still be key that we don't know about yet, and we'll get into that too. We'll see. We'll have to see, I guess. But I agree with you. We'll get into that a little bit more, and I want to join you. We can't have an easy 125, 125, under 250 average, and under 190 ISO. Yep. For anyone who hasn't played Madden, it's my first time playing Madden. I played for like a week or two. I haven't really played since. But one of the things they do is they do like temporary boosts to their sets. So while that set, and everybody's using that set, they like get you like little tokens that you can boost up your card, but then at the end of that set, those tokens are no longer boosting as much as they were, or they don't at all, but you still get to keep the card. So it was like a 93 during that time, it gets boosted to like a 97, and then at the end of that period it drops back down. So I think that would be really interesting to see, kind of like Inside Edge, some kind of Inside Edge situation, whether it's like a little bit predictable or it's a little bit random. That'd be interesting, because you kind of get rewarded for having cards stacked up in the back pocket. And it's not just like every day you're trying to get a new card to marginally improve your team. I do too, Angel. ASG. I hope he comes through today so we can talk about Road to the Show, because I do want to talk about that at some point today too. I miss when diamonds were only 90 plus. That, and then also like 85 to 99 is a really wide range. And then like the difference between a 98 and a 99 is actually crazy. You guys remember that tournament we did that was like 98s only, like no 99s? That was a really interesting thing to see. And there's like such a big fall off. I feel like there was a lot of like, there weren't many 98s in the game either. There's such a big fall off between 99s to 98s. And they were talking about like doing red diamonds this year. I think the way that they explained it was that there's going to be like a whole tier of red diamonds. So I wonder if that's what like the new 99s are going to be. And if like end game cards are all going to be red diamonds, or how that's going to work. Or if it's going to be more like prestiges. Most 99s are like 107s. Exactly. And that's the weird part too, is like it's 85 to 99, but then you got like those true overalls. I think the Show Zone does like true overalls. And you can see the difference between an early game 99 and an end game 99. Very obvious example is Carlos Beltran, who got an early game 99, and it was a really good card. But then you can compare him to his end game 99, which is both 99s, both the same player, both more or less like going to be the same hitting profile, and yet like there's a significant difference in how those cards are going to end up. You don't play 15 minutes quarters in competitive. Home run derby and moonshot series cards are the only exclusion for minimizing defensive attributes for hitting elite hitting ability. Yeah, I don't mind, even if they do a little bit of boosting here and there, like I don't mind it. But it's weird when like why is like this guy on my team for a month, even though he just had like one good day, versus like Babe Ruth has to basically DH or be a pinch hitter on my team. Tanking defense for home run derby cards is dumb is a hot take. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's reasonable within the big picture of how they've done stuff throughout the year. I think it would be cool if, like, I don't know, if you had like a captain card. This just, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I'm just thinking out loud. If you had a captain card that was like a fielding captain card, and you put that with your home run derby cards, and all of a sudden they could be usable. I don't know. I feel like there's just so much untapped potential with captains, and one of my issues is like either your captain just makes your team like all kind of the same as other cards, which can be okay for like, let's say a team affinity team, what's it called? Like a team building team. When you do that just so that it's competitive with the rest of Diamond Dynasty, like cool, that's good. Sometimes it's just like really OP, like the switch hitters. Sometimes it doesn't really do much. I don't know. I feel like I wish there was a way to like compensate for holes in a player's repertoire or card that makes different people able to use like more interesting teams, if that makes sense. Rather than like there's a meta of everybody use the switch hitter captain, or yeah, like I think it would be cool if more people were using theme teams, like actual MLB theme teams. I think that would be cool. But I feel like there's just so much more that they could do, especially with these sets. Like they didn't really have too many captain sets, I think, right? I feel like they had a captain for, no, they did the Jolt cards with captains for each team. But did they ever do captains for like a whole set of cards, like pipeline cards with a captain at the end? I feel like they could have done a little bit more of that too. Ozzie Smith and Richie Ashburn on Bliss Power. Salvador Perez suddenly suck on defense because he was invited to do a round of glorified batting practice. I think at a certain point in the year, if it's early enough, okay, here's where it really gets tough, is because I think, I could be wrong, but did 99s come out with the All-Star game? That's what I remember happening this year, is like, I had a really good time in the first like 2-3 months of the game. Like I was thoroughly enjoying it. I was playing every week. And then as soon as like, there was a huge jump from like 93s to like 99s in like a few weeks. Something along those lines. And that kind of killed the game for me. So if there's another way for them to get from like those mid-tier, like there's a lot of fun team building this year at the beginning. And then as soon as we hit 99s, it was like not that fun. So on that note of home run derby cards, I feel like if those were kind of the best cards in the game, let's say best cards in quotes, and they didn't all of a sudden have to compare to these like 98, 99s with that were well-rounded. I feel like if those were the best cards in the game and you sacrifice, and it just so happens like you have to sacrifice some defense for your offense, but they're still playable and still like overall in comparison to the other cards out there, like playable, then it would still be fun. But I don't think that's what happened. I think it just got like very quickly. They did not compare to the other cards in the game very quickly. And so I think that was a piece of it. But I think if it's like, okay, we're still like compromising on our cards. Basically, the cards that we have put in our lineup right now, we still have to compromise, and that's a decision we have to make. Some people will want to do that, and some people will not want to do that. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay for them to say, we're not going to give you a perfect card, and we're going to more or less artificially nerf something out of these cards, because they artificially, usually they're artificially boosting stuff, right? Maybe even the defense for cards later in the game. Maybe it's artificial, or they cherry pick. You could say a cherry pick. It's not that they're making it up necessarily. It's just they're like, okay, in this period of time, this guy was really good at defense or something. And I think they do that a lot. And I think once in a while, if they decide to nerf some cards, that's fine. I'm fine with it. If they're going to be dumb, I don't know why I can't play a different version of the same player at different positions. Playing a different version of the same player at different positions, as in like one card might have secondaries and then another card might not, of the same player. Yeah, I also don't know how I feel about that either. I think it's more of a balance thing. So, like, play Cal at shortstop and third base. Yeah. I'm guessing they just do it for balance reasons, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like questionable balance anyway, so why not? Why not just throw the secondaries on there? I know they've been very stingy with them, but I think they've also been working on like how out of position works. For instance, like a shortstop that plays third base even without the secondary is still going to be good at third base. They're going to have a penalty, but not the same as like a right fielder going to play third base. So I think out of position, because of the way that people were treating out of position in previous years, I think they started to bake it in a little bit more and kind of lean towards how people were using those cards anyway. And so I think that's another reason why they got rid of a bunch of secondaries. So I can have a full lineup of Ben Zobrist. Oh, you're saying different play? Oh, like together at the same time. I see what you're saying. Sorry, I misunderstood it first. So like two of the same in the lineup. I think they do that in Madden too, right? Two of the same player at different positions. I think that would be cool. At this point. Why not? When he was in home run derby and his defense was nerfed. July 21, Soto shouldn't get the July Lightning because he got a home run. Lost count of how many times I wanted to shout, that card sucks on defense. Right. Rather have Walter Johnson, Christy Matthews, and Lefty Grove, Bob Feller, and have a full windup of a wasting time of a washing machine. Windup time of a washing machine than every pitcher throwing from the stretch and endless slide stepping. That was the first thing I thought, is like the slide stepping is going to get out of hand. I think if they penalize slide stepping appropriately, it's probably fine. I like that they thought about making sure they add the delay, because there were a lot of pitchers who were annoying to throw out of the stretch. I don't remember. I know we talked about this a long time ago, but did they ever add a penalty for like throwing out of the stretch, like velo penalties? Because if they can like make sure that, I think if they can add a more realism of like someone throwing from the windup throws 104, let's say, but out of the stretch they throw 98. As long as like that still disparity happens, that's cool. But if you get like, if there are penalties from throwing the stretch and you receive those penalties, even though you technically should be in the windup, I think that would be annoying. Secondary position loss is a good thing. We have seen Nicholas Castellanos play first, which he has never registered a single game in that position ever in his career. Babe Ruth at first base is dumb. Did Babe Ruth never play first? That's how much I know about baseball, is it's all from MLB The Show. So I just assume he actually played first base. Yeah, secondary position loss I think is a good thing. It was not many games. Gotcha. Um, yeah. Let's start getting through some of this. Feel free to keep on the conversation. Some of this is gonna come into what we talk about today. I personally have not watched any content regarding people's opinions about gameplay. I've seen like a couple things here and there, maybe some shorts and stuff like that, but not a whole lot of opinions. I've seen a few headlines or like thumbnails pop up on my YouTube algorithm, but I haven't watched any of them. So this is pretty much just my opinion and anything that like you guys and us have talked about over the past like couple weeks. But yeah, I haven't really watched what other people are saying. 32 out of 2,400 games. Yeah, I would probably say no go. But feel free to give me your opinions as we go through this. We'll kind of go item by item through here. You know what? Let's just go through the video. Let's go through the feature premiere. I'm gonna pretty much not listen to what they're saying except for when we need
some of the most anticipated changes, but then we're gonna go straight into
if I need to jog my memory on anything.
On YouTube and Twitch.
But really, I just want to like see what they're talking about. Okay, so big zone hitting. That's the first thing they talked about here. Hey, I know her. Minimal optimism. I am on a new game release and it's not good. Definitely, it's not bad at all. Just kind of seeing how it goes. Overall, my opinion, I'm excited to play the game. I don't have expectations on how it's going to play. But as we go through, I'll kind of explain what things I really keyed in on and why they made me interested in playing the game more than I thought I would. We all know her, the legend. What a time. What a time when we were all just gaming. Now we're all adults. Some of us working for the game itself. That's wild to think about. Yeah, so big zone hitting. Basically, it looks like I thought this was going to be more of a guess pitch type thing, like on the fly. But
to end up. And from
it looks like you can move. Like, look how quickly you can move your selection. So up and in, there, down to bottom, and basically on the fly as if you're moving a PCI. You watch Shelfia work? He works for John Boy now, right? That's so wild. So, if I was to be excited for one particular thing in this game, it's big zone hitting.
And from there, swing timing, of course, is a huge impact.
So to me, it
said swing timing has a huge impact.
Hitting where, like your PCI, you're tracking where the ball is going with the quadrant.
Tracking where the ball is going.
More forgiving in terms of timing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's the coolest thing about it. It's really good.
Said more forgiving in terms of timing. I don't think that's correct. I think more forgiving in terms of location, but maybe even more precise with timing. Daily trivia videos. Ooh, they were doing like shoot. I remember watching some of them before, but it's been a while since I've seen them pop up. Okay, most interesting thing about this is that there's a center swing option. I wonder if this rectangle, the center swing, I wonder if that's going to be that big, or maybe if it shrinks on higher difficulties, which I think would be smart. But overall, this to me is PCI jam heaven. Anybody who loves to jam the PCI, I think is going to benefit greatly from this. Personally, I think placing the PCI is what throws me off more than anything. I feel like I can see the ball so quickly and I can react, but I don't feel like my thumb goes the same like precision and speed as my brain does. And I've always just been a PCI jammer. And so if you can just flick to one quadrant of the zone or even leave it in the middle, I feel like that's going to help so much. Doesn't have the best hit trajectory. It's basically a reskinned guest pitch and directional. I don't think it's beneficial in terms of exit velocity, but not a bad interface. That is a good point about exit velocity. But the thing is, there's going to be some testing to do here for sure. So first of all, like they say, like contact is going to matter a lot. So this might be really rough in BR or early in the season. If you're good enough on like a certain difficulty, like I'm good enough to hit on All-Star, Hall of Fame, it might make me worse on those difficulties. But I feel like this for me would close the gap playing on Legend, depending on how they like scale this. Like if this box gets maybe a lot smaller, I don't know exactly. But I feel like at your peak, this can only make you better once you're at the level where you couldn't hit before. Like before, I could have good days on Legend, but like a lot of days on Legend, I just couldn't square it up. But I feel like with this, I can get consistent on Legend. Unless PCI jam, you won't crush balls out of the zone. That's fine too, because I feel like it's so much easier to hit a quadrant of the zone rather than PCI. Because a lot of times, like when you swing your PCI, you miss by like a little bit, right? If you're someone who like completely hits the other side of the zone or something like that when you swing with your PCI, that's one thing. But think of like how much you miss your PCI by. Like not that much. And if you have that much more time to time it up properly, because you're just, okay, ball's coming over here, I'm flicking my thing over there, and my timing is what I'm only concerned about now. You can hit now on veteran? Yes, exactly. But to bring in exit velocity, now you don't have to worry about your power swing getting shrunk by power swinging. Or sorry, you don't have to worry that your PCI is going to shrink by power swinging. So your PCI, quote unquote, if it's up and in and you power swing, your up and in quadrant does not shrink. You get no penalty essentially. Maybe you get a timing penalty or something, like maybe your timing window is smaller, which I think they probably should do. Maybe your timing window is smaller, but your PCI size stays the same. So you don't get that penalty, which was a huge part of the reason why you would never power swing on zone hitting. And again, this goes back to maybe there's testing. Like if there's a possibility of you getting a swing and a miss on a good, like you guess the right quadrant and you have good timing, if that means you can never swing and miss, if you have both of those two correct, I think you have a higher ceiling. Again, necessary, like if you're good on All-Star, like maybe it makes you worse on All-Star. Maybe if you're good on Hall of Fame, it makes you worse on Hall of Fame. But I think once you find where your limit is, if you're good on Hall of Fame and bad on Legend, like I would say I am, I think it helps you get better at the game. It doesn't vary on higher difficulties too. Really? Did they talk about that? I assume like maybe some of the swing timing and stuff like that and the higher difficulties maybe gets nerfed a little bit. But that's where I'm not sure, because like maybe they make PCI hitting more rewarding or something. Like zone hitting, maybe they make it more rewarding, because I feel like this is going to close the skill gap on higher difficulties. Because I know I can get good goods. I know for sure I can get good goods on Legend with this. It's just a matter of like, how rewarding is that going to be? Like, is it even playable on Legend? Maybe they nerf it so hard. Maybe they nerf the RNG so hard on this that it's not worth it. But let's say you can make contact. Like if I play a game on Legend, I might make good contact like 5 times during the game. Let's say this is 50% less effective, like a good quote unquote on big zone hitting. Let's say that's gonna result in a good swing only 50% of the time, as opposed to like 80% of the time. But let's say you hit like more than double good goods on big zone hitting than you do on zone hitting, you're going to end up with the RNG in your favor in that case. Timing is one thing, but the big zone interface doesn't decrease the size. Similar to using the bat PCI inner. Well, bat PCI inner, like visually, it doesn't change the size, but if you look at your swing feedback, it is still smaller because the swing feedback's always the same, right? It's the same like wedge or whatever reticle. That still shrinks in your feedback, even if you use bat PCI inner. And that's what I was talking about. The visual feedback, the visual indicator might be the same, but I'm more talking about the swing feedback. No, I got you. I should have clarified too, because I forgot that was something to clarify. So it's a good point. But yeah, what I'm talking about is like the only factor you have to consider now between swings and between difficulties is the pitch timing, the pitch speeds. And that makes me feel like I can have a lot more fun playing the game without having to like really focus on my PCI skill basically. And overall, like maybe this isn't even as good as I think it's going to be, but I feel like number one, it fits kind of like the way that I hit. And so I'm excited for that. And number two, it's kind of something new in one of the more fundamental parts of the game to like kind of try and master and try to improve on. And I feel like I haven't had that in MLB The Show in a long time. It's just like, I know what kind of player I am and I can't really get much better to the point where like it's any more fun. So there was no like gameplay progression for me. I wasn't like learning how to get better at the game, as opposed to with this, now I have an opportunity to try to do that. So this was probably the thing I'm most interested in.
Push that stick into the zone where that ball is coming in. You don't have to precisely line it right up, but how big your contact zone is going to be based on your
also
contact,
right, but big zone is not the only thing.
Something like what's it called? If you have a pro controller and you can edit your sensitivities, I have a feeling if you make a big dead zone in the center, then you'll be able to like not miss the middle pitches more easily. Because right, like if you move it a little bit and let's say it starts saying, okay, you're in the bottom right quadrant, even though you just move the stick a little bit, then it's going to be really hard to start on one of the quarters and let it fall back to the center. So if you make a big dead zone, you'll have a lot of room for when you let go of the stick for it to make sure that you hit the middle pitches. A pause face.
Connor, talk to our fans.
So I'm very interested to try to like mess with different sensitivities in dead zones and stuff.
It's very similar to zone hit. As we were doing it, one of the first
this
steps
is
we
interesting.
took
The
is,
PCI sensitivity. I don't know how this is going to work out.
Your release.
I feel like you're gonna have to be even more precise.
So basically, essentially, what fixed
and I
zone
don't
is
know.
the
I have a
ability
feeling
to
it's not
move
going to
your
be
left
any
stick
more or
around,
less
and when you
rewarding than
release
zone
the
hitting.
left stick, it's going to stay in that.
So we'll see how that goes.
Location.
And
so you can move it around the zone smoothly.
I don't know.
Without having to worry about that snap
I
back to center.
feel
That's
like
really nice. It reminds me of when we introduced PCI Anchor a few years ago.
I feel like this is going to introduce more
but
cheating.
instead of it resulting back into the middle, if you don't set a PCI anchor, it's
So I
just
feel
going to
like
follow through that.
it's going to make it
slow,
much
smooth
easier
motion.
for you to plug in a
Absolutely,
mouse.
And there's a sensitivity that comes with that.
So we'll
as
see what
well.
happens on Xbox.
And that kind of leads us to the next thing, which is PCI sensitivity. Please scale sensitivity a little bit, and I'm able to, because I know that with my PCI sensitivity, I won't be able to reach it.
And Gil, we were talking before this.
I have a feeling this is going to feel too clunky. I might not even try this interface this year because
yeah, I go 6. So
I don't even think like an analog stick is meant to play like this. We'll see how it goes. I think it's good for people who like to really own a part of the zone. But if you don't get any more reward for it than like using regular PCI, I don't think it's going to be worth it.
Pitcher might be only or to save that bullpen.
I'll put on captions.
And you see examples of this all the time. You know, pitches, bear down pitch.
Bear down pitching is interesting. I like when they add more like slightly more arcadey stuff that still kind of fits within simulation baseball. I do think like bear down pitching probably should have just been more effective pitches than rather than like better control. So we'll see how that plays out. They said you still have to do a good input to get it. I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to be game breaking, and I think it's just like a nice little thing to have. So overall, I think that's a really nicely tuned. It's going to be effective, but as a hitter, I don't think you're really going to notice it. So I think that's a good thing. As a pitcher, it gives you some more options, and I just like having a few more mechanics in the game here and there. So I think it's good. It doesn't seem like it's going to be OP. So it's a nice little ad for them. JV disagrees, but I feel like in old games it was like if you want to pitch 100, your energy is dead in the 5th inning. Isn't it still like that? One thing I miss about like meter pitching is that you used to be able to like you used to be able to say I want a really effective pitch or I want a control pitch. And I think taking that out of like pinpoint and out of pure analog was like a huge downgrade to this like to the strategy behind pitching. So I wish you could do that in this game. Like I feel like you should be able to scale your effectiveness even if you're doing pinpoint. Because you could all you have to do is like change the thresholds, right? Like right now you got 3 factors. You got like your timing, your precision, and your release or whatever like that. And you have to get to a certain threshold on those categories for it to be a perfect release. But if you could just scale your effectiveness, you say, okay, I want to throw this fastball as hard as I possibly can, then either you get a penalty on the size of your par, or you can have like a harder threshold to hit. So like if you need 90% accuracy, now you need 95% accuracy for this to go where you think it's going to go. And so like that kind of stuff, I felt like you got a lot more options in meter pitching, and that also affected your stamina. So I believe. So if you wanted to throw 94 instead of 98, you save a little bit of stamina. You throw some control pitches mixed in with your best pitches. And yeah. And now every pitcher you're trying to go 100% every time. I think in old games you had to more get me over pitches on non-scary batters to save them. But yeah, that was more just like the meter pitching, right? Did they ever have that in anything else? Like pure analog, sometimes if you like did something kind of incorrectly, I feel like the pure analog would say, I don't remember what it would say, but it would give you a certain feedback that was like, oh, this is more of a control pitch, but I couldn't do it intentionally. And I don't think you can do it on pinpoint either. It is realistic in the way that like nowadays everybody's trying to throw 100% on every pitch. So I don't mind that in the sense that like I'm glad starters can only really go 5 innings. Because I feel like the stamina is more realistic for how it's played now, but I do wish you had that option. I wish you had a little bit more of that strategy. So yeah, I like that they're adding bear down pitching. Not much more to add for me than what we just talked about, but I like it. Attributes now, they're only going to show what's relevant. What else was interesting on here? So they're not showing durability. So like those things are still part of the card. So this is where I'm not 100% sure. Do those attributes exist in Diamond Dynasty? Will they still boost a card Can you artificially inflate a card by adding durability? Inflating their overall, stuff like that. Will they be there in the back end, or like when you go to the menu? Or does it only show up like this inside of the game? Like when you're actually playing and you pause the game? So I'm a little curious about that. I feel like it's going to be removed from Diamond Dynasty as a whole, and so you won't be able to artificially inflate attributes, but we'll see. Okay, this is a good example. Contact 62. Yeah, this is a good example right here, right? So the difference between power left and power right is 36. So 36 divided by 2 is 18. 77 divided by 18 is 59, right? 59. So you would think that a 77 and a 41 averages out to a 59, but the power is actually a 62. So I'm pretty sure they use power right as a more important attribute towards their power rating. So they've said this in the past that like because you face more righties, a guy who has better power right is actually higher rated. Steel is in intangibles. Yeah, I guess it's not in under speed. Interesting. Now everybody goes 75. So it goes 5 whether you're pitching 102 or Zach Greinke. Yeah. Base running aggressiveness. Yeah, they did get rid of it from here. So durability, base running aggressiveness. Actually, they compare it somewhere. Drag bunt and sack bunt are also gone. Is that correct? No, those are both still there, but there's one more. Durability. And discipline as well. Interestingly, I think they said that fielding is not going to have directional attributes for like offline games or non-Diamond Dynasty. Discipline is intangibles. Yeah, for these are the offline attributes. But discipline was gone in the online ones. So they got rid of aggressiveness, durability, discipline. Those 3, I think, were the only ones gone. But they do show the directional one for this offline, which I think they said is not going to be the case. Or maybe that was just Road to the Show. Maybe that was specifically Road to the Show because they said they don't want you to have to put in attributes. Don't want to have to put in points to improve those attributes. I think that was the main reason. We'll see how this is. So this is also interesting because fielding ability is 90. Oh, so then ability is 90 and then reaction is like some kind of average of these. Those probably matter more in certain positions too. Like a middle infielder going back is not going to be as valuable as like going right and left, for instance. It's still important, like bloopers are going to drop behind him if they can't go back, but it'll also make like defense more specific. I think that's good. I did talk a little bit last week about if you have too many attributes, then like you can get stuck with a few cards being meta because they have very specific attributes that are better than others. The more attributes you have, the less diversity you have. And that was something they said in here. They said the opposite in their stream. They said as you have more attributes, then your lineup diversity increases, which is just not true. So we'll see. I think they also talked about that when it came to PCI shrinkage. We'll talk about in a second. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, hits per 9 and Ks per 9 got split. This is probably good, but I was wondering if this was also like a little redundant. let's see if I can't remember what I was thinking about this. Oh, this is what they were talking about. When they were talking about switch hitters and lineup diversity, they're like, this is what's going to combat PCI shrinkage. So they said they acknowledge the fact that PCI shrinkage makes people want to use switch hitters more. So they acknowledge that. But then they said by switching these, by splitting these up to right and left, this is going to combat your switch hitters more, which is not true as well. Because going into the game, if you put your switch hitter in the lineup, you don't know if your opponent is going to have a guy that has better hits versus left or versus right or whatever. And half the time, it's going to be the other way around, where it's actually they are now worse against the righties than they otherwise would have been. And so in that particular game, you get an advantage. So it's not going to stop you from using switch hitters. So there were a few things that they talked about in the stream, which was like completely silly. I think everything that they said about PCI shrinkage was like accurate. And I was going to say that they missed the point of why people are frustrated about it. They just kind of explained why it's in the game, which is fine. I agree with it. Like, and on some level too, I brought this up too. Like, if you're getting like a really small PCI and you're trying to fight off a low and away slider, I think there should be less shrinkage inside the zone. Like, you should still have your PCI. Just maybe like, because they were talking about swings and misses, right? If you jam your PCI and your PCI is all the way in the corner, yeah, it probably should be small, like very, very, very small. And so either you have to be looking for it, you ambush it, or use a contact swing or whatever to fight it off. Because if you're trying to like get a good pitch to hit, it's not going to be a slider off the corner. And so they should do that. Like when your PCI is actually hitting the edge, the border of the zone, it should shrink a little bit so that you can't swing and make contact on pitches out of the zone like that. But if it's a slider on the plate, it's maybe not a hanging slider, but it's probably a hittable slider in some way. So you shouldn't get, as a pitcher, you shouldn't get free strikeouts just by throwing that pitch. Balance between arcade stats matter versus player PCI input matters, with the creator online side heavily verbal on the latter. Yeah, true. I know they've acknowledged that in the past too. Like having different cards does need to matter. But I feel like some of the stuff that they talked about was just like not making any sense. Walks per 9 removed attribute skill this year, and they've changed it into control. And it sounds like it's going to affect the PCI, the par size and stuff as well. So that'll be interesting. It was weird to have players who had like good control of like their individual pitchers. Like they had good control, but then bad walks per 9. So I do think sometimes that was redundant. But we'll see how that plays out this year. Control efficiency of the 4 pitches. Is that what these are? Or is that just stuff? The attributes on here. Because they're showing velocity break usage, but they don't have like a control stat in these pitches. But throw slider on the outside corner, it shouldn't have good contact unless you were sitting on it, but instead it gets rocked because it's a slow pitch and the power guys are just pulling it. Well, pitch repertoire, honestly, don't mind it. Okay. Well, I guess I'm in my head, I'm thinking about the extreme example of like playing on Go difficulty, and in my head, when we're talking about this, I'm picturing when there was like literally no PCI on your screen, like in the feedback, it was completely like empty, or it was like so small, it was smaller than the baseball, and then like some people would still square it up and it wouldn't go anywhere. I think if it's like anywhere off of the corner, I'm talking about like in the final quadrant, right? If you got your 9 quadrants and the ball lands as a slider low and away in that last quadrant, but not touching the edge of the zone, I'm saying fully in this, like in the quadrant, I think your PCI should be big enough to get to that ball. This is where I also think like swing timing windows versus PCI should matter a little bit more. Like maybe you have a really small green zone, right? Because if you got that slider blown away, like you said, rocked it, and power guys are pulling it, I think maybe that should be where the question lies. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the game where they should make the PCI still the same size, but your swing timing, your green zone, like shrinks in certain areas because, or I don't know. There are just times where like you should still get good contact if you time it up a certain way. But yeah, you shouldn't necessarily be able to pull that ball, but you also shouldn't be like swinging through it if it's on the plate, if you're able to adjust to it, but you shouldn't be able to pull it for power. I think those are all valid. Like you should have to make a trade-off on that. You shouldn't be able to get rewarded for both. And so that's why I agree with how they went about explaining it, but I think they just kind of like missed the point about the switch hitters, and then the way that they said that they were combating the switch hitters was just very untrue. So you can't throw double play balls. I hear what you're saying, yeah. And that's what I mean about like maybe the timing should be different. Like if that's a low and in slider or maybe a middle slider, you should have your big timing window where you can pull that ball for a home run, you can hit a line drive up the middle, you can hit a line drive to right field. Low and away slider, you should like never be able to lift that ball for a home run. People do it. Like it's not impossible to do in real life, but I think in the video game, that's where they should draw a bit of a line that if you weren't looking for it, if you're not ambushing it, if you didn't start your PCI there, something like that, you should get penalized. You shouldn't be able to pull that ball for a home run. Again, people do it in real life, but that's where like you're trying to replicate real life and you just can't. So take the more fair approach. That's baseball. So I think I mostly agree. I mostly agree with you. PCI lift isn't happening. Yeah, you're already like if you're looking inside, either you poke the bat away and hit something softly up the middle, like your best contact is just going to be soft up the middle or the other way. It's not going to be pulled for power. If you do pull it, you're probably rolling over it. So I agree. I agree that PCI shrinkage should happen. It's just like, I agree that PCI shrinkage is realistic. The question is, should it happen because of what it does in the video game where there's a lot of switch hitters that are viable? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. That's the thing. It's like, I couldn't tell you what the right answer is on this one, but the explanation was a little bit slightly tone deaf, especially when they combine the fact that they brought up these splits, hits per 9 and Ks per 9 splitting up into right and left as the combat for all the switch hitters, which is just completely incorrect. Like I said, if they brought in, if you put a switch hitter in your lineup, 50% of the time they're getting an advantage because of the split, and 50% of the time they're not. And you don't know until you get into the game, so it's not actually like affecting your decision. They're going to use the switch hitter regardless. It's incredibly tough to hit on same-handed advantage, like reverse splits. It is, yeah, and PCI shrinkage is a big part of it. So They unfortunately did
kinda
not
splits.
acknowledge that part of it.
It increases. So what it's doing is window that they're pulling from real and we're in real life in our game now.
Still doing. If this guy's good going to his right and his left, then I might have to worry about it. But if he's terrible going to his right, I might have another guy who might hit not as good, but he's good going both directions.
I generally
I'm
like
gonna
this.
want
There's
that
like a
guy
lot of
in the lineup, right? 'Cause
plays
essentially what
that
that's going to do is affect his
shouldn't
start
always be
trend.
made, and I think
and it doesn't now a
that gives a
scalable
reason
attribute.
why.
Yeah, and rightfully
Like
so.
before, it was a little bit more
these
random,
guys
and this
separate
will give a
themselves
little
behind
bit
the
more of a
plate for how
reason
quick their
why
feet are, right?
a
And
certain
how quick
play
their
wouldn't get made.
exchanges, and essentially at second base. That's how
Because that's
you
like super
calculate
dives
pop
and
time.
like
The average in the big
every
leagues right now is probably
player being able
around
to get all over the field.
1.9,
But then
5,
also,
1.9,
like,
6,
some players can
something
never
like
make
that.
any play,
And you're going to find a
and it's really
big
annoying. So
chunk of guys that are right around that.
I
Sure,
think
with the best
the directional
most
stuff is going to be
real
good for the most part.
Very specifically, and that does not include.
Let's see. Catcher pop time
and
attribute.
instead of on really
It
going
seemed
in
like
each
it was a
other,
little
it
bit
makes them more
redundant.
efficient. So far, 4, but it's
Right.
going with knee down. But the majority.
I think
of
what they were
catchers-
kind of talking about is like it kind of fixes the problem of like, hey, this guy on like when you measure his arm strength, like he throws not that hard, but at the end of the day, they consistently get good pop times. So on the surface, pop time seemed a little bit redundant, but I think it compensates for like a lack of combination of, like, let's say some guys are just like really quick off their feet. They do a few things that overcome the fact that the arm itself is not that strong, but for some reason they have a good pop time, and whatever holes they have in their attributes were not reflective of that. And so it's good that they have pop time to kind of combat that, I guess. The Kyle Schwarber problem on the reverse side, exactly.
now are knee down catchers. We got
So pop time
Once you
good.
Always find every defense play.
There's probably more
efficient,
examples of
and I
where
think
like
fans,
the attributes
they
don't
come to
exactly
expect it, but there's a lot of
reflect.
good work that goes in
And I
there
think this
that they
probably
don't even
shows up
notice.
in like
I mean,
certain
the efficiency
pitches, like
thing
the
is
fact
really
that sinkers
important,
are
too,
so
to
good.
understand because of how we scale based on attributes, right? And you may not get the most efficient throw.
There's
if
probably
you have a
other
low-rated
places where
player
they can
in that
overcome
position, and that's super important to understand.
hole
right? That's
in
what I
their
love about all this is like the balance of the game, balancing it for all
animations.
these different things.
Motions, different ways of making when it comes trying to make
But now
See
we
what we
have
have
the
here.
odds
Pitch
of
com.
coming to make
Not going to really matter. ABS not going to be on online play.
We are allowed to sit some 26.
All right, now they get into live. Bear down pitching demo. Don't really want to see any of that. Big zone hitting demo.
the big zone hitting. So here's
I'm
what
just
it
going to let
does.
this
It
play in the background while while we talk about it a bit. Still a lot of question marks. My biggest thing is like if you can never swing and miss on a good, the thing is like you get so much more time to react in my opinion, as opposed to like aiming your PCI. This is going to give you like the advantage of having like a few extra milliseconds is super underrated, I think. I'm also curious about like, do you get less rewarded for a pitch down the middle if you're center swinging versus like if you're looking inside? Like, do the smaller quadrants end up getting you like more rewarded? And then there's also a lot of overlap between quadrants. Like I thought it was just going to be the 4 quadrants, to be honest. And the fact that there's a lot of overlap almost makes it feel like it's going to be even easier than I was thinking. Because you have more opportunities to hit the same baseball. Maurer with incredible arm gets no catcher pop time quirk, while Alejandro Kirk has poor arm, gets catcher pop time. Don't like it as a quirk in general. Do you like it as an attribute? But I think, well, I assume it's all based off of like measured like pop times, I guess. So same thing, but I don't know how the quirk itself worked. You get bloop hits on big zone hitting too, apparently. So as long as it was like based off of something, then it's fine. Because sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, they had a great arm, but for some reason they were just like, for instance, Joe Tomauer's tall. Maybe it's just the fact that he was so lanky and long that like he didn't quite have the same pop time, but his strong arm like made up for it. Even though maybe he moved slower, something like that. So we'll see. Pretty interested. Like, this was a big reason why I'm excited to actually play the game, you know, and not just like for the content or for, because I was kind of excited to play for like the fun cards that the White Sox might get, or even franchise or something like that. But this actually makes me interested in wanting to play the game. So that's cool. Attributes demo. Nothing crazy in here. Co-op updates. Nothing super significant, but nice little quality of life stuff. I think ASG, you said this was like the best thing, the depth of field stuff. So that'll be cool. It's really good for like neutralizing some of those bad batter's eyes and stuff like that. That's the biggest thing. They did a good job of improving it the last couple of years, so maybe it's not as big of a deal as it could have been a few years ago. Like, this would have been really helpful. We shall see. Was there anything in here that we didn't really talk about? Pitcher control will influence the par size and pitch type. What do you mean pitch type? Smaller pars in the higher repertoire. I'm interested to see, like, can you still spam your primary pitch? Because, like, if the usage of your primary pitch is like 50%, if you go over 50%, does that mean you're technically spamming it and then you get a penalty anyway? Because I think in the past it was not like that. I think your primary pitch you could use as much as you want. Only your secondary pitches would get a penalty for spamming. But we'll see. So yeah, I don't know what other people have been saying. Do you guys know what other people have been saying about what we've seen so far? Are people not excited? Are they liking it? I wasn't expecting much. Like, there was once upon a time where every year they would have a big update to how hitting works. One year they went from like line drives to like fly balls, or fly balls to like adding some more line drives, stuff like that. They're really tweaking the hitting engine, and I don't think they've tweaked the hitting engine in like 3 years. Most are just complaining about the windup thing. I could see why. But it does give you a bit more consistent experience. Maybe a less, like, there's pros and cons out of that for sure. I'm hoping it's one of those things that like people don't really notice after a little while, but who knows? Overall, I don't think there's anything like that moves the needle for most people. For me personally, as someone who like one of the additional reasons that I haven't really talked about today of why I've played less and less is because I think I'm just getting worse at the game, especially with like zone hitting. And so this gives me a little bit of juice to like feel like I can get a little bit better, either kind of get back to where I was, or like kind of a big zone hitting kind of fits my play style a little bit more as well. So I wonder if there's even something more that I can unlock, because like I think it's going to help my timing a bunch. And I feel like I've always been good at like putting my bat into an advantageous timing. even though I'm not like the most consistent with getting like amazing timing, but I feel like I have a good enough approach that I can hit for power because I'm like prepared for it, if that makes sense. And I feel like big zone hitting is going to help me even more with that. So that's why I'm interested about that. Perks, simulation. This is cool. Get to do a little bit more. This is a road to show stuff, by the way. There was one thing about like, what's it called? You set your goals. You set your own goals, and I think that's going to be cool. This is it right here. You set your own goals, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if this is something that's been in the game previously, but honestly, that alone kind of makes me want to try Road to the Show, because I haven't played it in a while, because it always feels like a little bit too much of the same. But I have a feeling I'll actually want to play this year. So yeah, I do want to know what Diablo's opinion on this is going to be, but because I think he was talking about for a long time, he wanted the points back in Road to the Show. Maybe some college skip to the MLB. I thought they added points back last year. Did they not? Or this year, I should say. They still have perks. Where is the... Yeah, your prize is like 2 points, I think. I miss starting it at not a 57. I think with the way that they do the simulation this year, I don't know if you'll be able to start in the MLB necessarily, but I have a feeling that you'll be able to play minimal minor leagues if you want to. Because you'll be able to just, like if you play on, let's say like rookie or something, and you do really well for like 2 games, and then you simulate, but they said that you're going to simulate at a higher overall. So like maybe if you're a 57, you simulate as a 67, and maybe that's a lot better than the rest of the minor leaguers. So, and then you do like your minimal gameplay, I guess. You just skip to your next like most important at bats. You just play those, and then maybe after like maybe after like a day, you're in the major leagues. I have a feeling that would be possible. Because how often do you think they would sim? Like once a week, maybe? Like you'd get at bats once a week if you wanted. And if there's say like 25 weeks in the minor league season, something like that, you're only really jumping into like 25 games, maybe even less, maybe more, but maybe less. I feel like you can get through that kind of quick. I want to start MLB at a 70 overall. I wonder if there's a, let's see, draft slot. Take your best college offer or hold out for your dream school. This would have been such a cool year for them to have like World Baseball Classic, or like you get to play internationally for a couple years. Or even just like an international prospect. I think they probably will have that in the game at some point, but the last couple years, obviously, with the ability to do the NCAA stuff, they're probably just focusing on that. Maybe by the time the next World Baseball Classic rolls around, you could be an international free agent. Make games at College Combine determine huge you're starting overall. That would be cool too. 11 colleges. Did they expand how much this does for you? Skill development perk. your potential goes up. Yeah, it seems like I don't know. I don't know if you earn points, because it's just really your points that are going up your overall, and your performance in college is really just affecting your potential. It looks like. I don't know if you earn points while you're in college. Doesn't matter what round you're drafted in. I'm also not sure how your potential changes as well after you get drafted, because I think your performance in the tournament affects how you get drafted. Affects your potential, which affects how you get drafted. But then I don't know if your potential changes much after that. I don't know if they talked about it, I should say.
2,000 game Hall of Fame. We know.
That's what they say.
We know that not everyone can commit to taking every swing in a roughly 2,000 game Hall of Fame career, which is why in Road to the Show 26, you will have the option to simulate sections of your
Adjusted will never be lower than your current overall of 59. That's cool. Current adjusted. Let's see. Simulation auto training you can also do. What are these? There's two different, at the very top, there's two different currencies. Were those both in the game before? Maybe Bryce Harper or something. We're not just potential, but I'm a beast out of high school. True, but he still played the minors. But there's like internationals played out of who didn't play in the minors.
career,
Like that.
with player simulation performance being driven by your overall rating. However, you will get an additional performance boost from your recent momentum, like a hot week at the plate or a scoreless inning streak on the mound. So even if your overall
But I think
is
they
a
do
fifth,
talk about this. Start from high school, rise to the top. From high school to college and the majors. Get recruited out of high school. I thought there was a way that you could do no college as well. Maybe not.
57,
Maybe I
you
made
could
that up.
simulate as a 67. You get the flexibility to move faster without losing the rhythm of how you've actually been performing. Another fun addition this year is that while simulating portions of your career, you will be alerted when high-profile moments or
You can still
achievements are
skip it, looks
approaching.
like.
You can choose to keep simming or stop to actively take over in the pivotal moments, like chasing home run records or pitching in marquee matchups. The road to Cooperstown doesn't seem so long when you control the pace. No matter how far you take your Road to the Show career, the journey is yours to enjoy, whether you play 1 month or 15 seasons. But if the Hall of Fame is the goal, Cooperstown is about more than accomplishments. It's about legacy. How you get there defines how you're remembered. Were you a first ballot, unanimous selection, or a fringe candidate? And what do you want your on-field legacy to be? Do you dream of being the greatest power hitter in history? Or maybe you'll do the unthinkable and dethrone Nolan Ryan in career strikeouts. With more control over the direction and duration of your career, all of this and more is possible in Road to the Show 26. Thanks for playing Road to the Show, and keep an eye out for more.
I thought there was a lot more to talk about on gameplay too, but seems like there really wasn't. We will see. I don't know. I feel like I will be interested in trying a little, but I don't know. I think the last few years I've felt that, and then I'm like, nah, never mind. Sometimes I think about playing Road to the Show, and then I end up not wanting to, kind of for no reason. Or like I forget. I think this is true too. I think sometimes, like at the beginning of the year, we see all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is enough for me to want to try it. And then, like the first couple months, I'm just playing Diamond Dynasty. And then by the time I have time to play Road to the Show, I kind of forget all the new stuff that they added. And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe it's not going to be worth my time. I didn't mean no college, just where Nick Kurtz, where I'm top prospect, barely in the minors, don't play above my overall with my sticks, but I'm actual solid overall. Gotcha. Yeah, I guess with the point system, that might be tough, but at least you can just like simulate through the minors. But I don't know about like, yeah, the actual attributes, because you used to be able to like buy attributes with your stubs, and I don't think that's the case anymore either. Not actually a phenom, right? Yeah. I think unless they let you buy attribute points again, then I don't think that'll be possible. Which could be a killer for you. I don't know. Anything else interesting we haven't talked about? For some reason, I thought there was a lot more that they discussed, but I feel like we touched on just about everything. That's the gameplay trailer, gameplay updates. There we go. ABS. Interestingly, they do show, I don't know if they showed it here, but somewhere in the ABS, they showed that like the ball barely touched the edge of the zone. And they called it a strike on the ABS. But it looked like in Diamond Dynasty that still wasn't the case. Like you still have to get more than half the baseball in the zone for it to be a strike. So I don't know what the deal is with that yet. Not a franchise guy, but they pretend to touch it this year. I believe they have something in the schedule. Let me see. They definitely talked about, yeah, trade hub, modernized lineup and positions, new front office. They definitely have something for franchise that they talked about. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was in this gameplay reveal.
Late chasing your first hits, smoother. Every pitch nastier. Hey, that kid's special. Then it clicks. You're locked in. Every swing smoother. Every pitch nastier. Every moment, straight heat.
Big moment for the closer.
Oops.
Pitch nasty. Heat. Or maybe your journey takes you upstairs. Flipping prospects. Now you're repping your country. Different pressure, different pride. This is the world stage. Or maybe your journey takes you upstairs. Flipping prospects, stacking lineups, building a ball club your way. Getting to the majors? That's just the beginning. Cooperstown is the goal. But you gotta earn it. It's your journey, your moment.
Oh, it was gotta be the blog. Yeah, okay, here's the franchise stuff. Improve lineup and rotation logic, streamlining franchise. There's lineup logic. That's pretty much it. Modern baseball analytics to figure out where players are going to be in the lineup. And I think that's really all they've talked about. My last year of PS4, I liked mini seasons, but don't know what they've done about it since. They said something about revamping mini seasons. I think I have to go to this page. I think it's in the PlayStation Store where they talk about it, because there were certain things they don't talk about anywhere except for in here. Revamped mini seasons campaigns as you level up your stars with a PXP system, upgraded PXP system, customize their skills with parallel mods, hit parallel 5 faster through special challenges. So I think this is promising. I don't know how extensive this is going to be, but it could be cool. Judge on the cover because every version of the game is $99. Oh, that's crazy. Maybe true. World Baseball Classic mini season where they made theme teams and picked one out without even using your DD squad would be sick. True. Yeah, Red Diamond Rarity tier. Build your Ultimate Fantasy team with a new Red Diamond Rarity tier. Rarity tier, I think, means that there's going to be something after Diamond, is what I think. I don't think it's just going to be 99s necessarily, or like just like the way Prestige worked or anything like that. I think it's going to be a separate tier on its own. I think it would be cool to have like, I don't even know how to conceptualize it, but like we were talking about all the different types of 99s, like maybe they just have, I don't know. Maybe those different levels of 99s can just be the red diamonds. I know what's going on, but there's some game that was Mexico versus Mexico. I think it was some kind of America Cup. I have no idea. No idea. I assume it wasn't the Olympics. And then franchise, custom game entry. They already had that before. Well, not custom, I guess. They had like the most important parts when you come in. Trade hub, trade logic system, smarter lineups. They said big zone hitting is rack up some home runs with more control over your swing placement. More control over your swing placement sounds not true. I feel like that's the opposite of what happens. We will see. There's a $10 loyalty discount. If you bought the game since 2021, you get $10 off of Digital Deluxe. So yeah, again, there's a lot less than I thought. Like I was kind of thinking about it throughout the week, and I felt like there was a lot more to talk about, but there really isn't. The small stuff that they've added have potential, I think. For me personally, they kind of hit on a few things that could be really good. I think parallel XP stuff that they talked about, whatever they do with captains, I still like hope for a big overhaul at some point. But in terms of like having enough for me to be like interested in playing a decent amount, I think they did enough. Ooh, baseball. I can understand that it's not enough for a lot of people. Some people are just not interested in those kind of things that I am interested in this year. So I can understand that. But for me personally, like, it's enough for me to have a good amount of interest. I was very 50-50 just a couple months ago on whether or not I wanted to play the game. But here we are. How are you doing, Jackie? I don't think I'm going to be on for too much longer. I just wanted to kind of go over MLB stuff, but What about you? Are you following any of this MLB stuff? MLB The Show? What happened in the last game update this year? Equipment, player models. Co-op updates. Excited for the game again? Unironically, yes. That was the first thing that made me want to get the game. Is because the White Sox will have a couple of players that will be fun. And that's really all it comes down to. In an eon, fair. Did you see their big zone hitting though, Jackie? Life has been lifing, I guess. Fair. Did you ever recover from that calzone? It's funny because like I have 2 or 3 other games that I'm excited to play right now. Been playing this game, Star Rupture, where you get to like build factories and fight alien bugs. It's been pretty fun. I've only played it a couple times. And Overwatch had some major updates, so I'm playing that as of yesterday. Battlefield with the boys. So I don't necessarily need MLB The Show, but it'll be a nice little icing on the cake. I did do my pre-order already. So yeah, I'm just chilling. Static PCI, that one is fixed zone hitting. Big zone hitting is the one that looks like guest pitch, but it's not exactly. It's like guest pitch, but you do it live. You confuse Selenium with John Bellion, fair. Yeah, I think he talked in that. I did watch the whole thing. In that interview, talked about their collab, and I think he said it was like his favorite collab or something like that. So, but it was a good watch. I think I had seen one clip of that from like a short that they had posted or something. So I feel like I had seen one of the quotes gave me deja vu, and I feel like I just watched him say that like last week. I was bored during work today, so it was a good day to watch it. I had never heard of Your Namesake before, though. Actually, I guess that guy's probably named after you. Only once before? That's crazy. I had to do a double take for a second. Thoughts on the new album? I like it. There's a lot of songs that I don't like, but there are 19 songs on the album, so like it's pretty substantial. Let's see, how many songs did I hit the like button on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I like about half the songs. And we'll see, because even like previous Millennium albums, even if I didn't like a few of the songs or they were not as good, I would still listen to the album like over and over and maybe skip one song at a time. This album, I think, has many skips that I wouldn't like go back and listen to. So it's not really an album that I feel like I can just play. But there are some songs on there that I really liked. But a lot of them are like the singles that came out before. And they're very like they're either like really nice like actual dance songs, not like I don't know how to explain it. There's like kind of get you bopping in your head, you know? Like they're kind of earworms. they're not like super meaningful. I don't know. And then the ones that are less like dance pop, I didn't really like. Did you listen to the album? I don't think I would go to a concert for this album. But I'd have to listen to it again because I only listened to it once all the way through. So I definitely will go back through it and see, but yeah, not my favorite. A lot of my favorites have been putting out albums lately, though. Seven Lions, Said the Sky. I also didn't know when I was watching that interview, he said that one of Millennium's not idols, but like one of the people that he like learned from was Ishii, which is I think the producer for Written in the Stars by Tiny Tempa, which was like one of my favorite songs at the time when it came out. So that's a crazy connection that I didn't know about. Started and stopped halfway, that's fair. Although I will say most of the songs that I liked were from the first half. Half-ish. Classic. Oh, he wrote the MKTO song. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. What do you guys think about upcoming baseball season? Also, the Bulls tank is so funny. The Bulls basically traded away everyone that they have. They have like 8 guards on their roster, and then their 2 centers are injured. So they're just like tanking with like some all right like NBA players, but they just like can't match up with anybody. So they have like 5'7" guys playing center. 5'7". I mean 6'7" guys playing center, not 5'7". That'd be crazy. Superfan is named Andrew. It's all coming together. But yeah, baseball season should be interesting. We got looks like Santander got injured, Jackie. I don't know if you saw that. He's out for like 6 months. We were talking earlier about like the hamate bone thing. Like 3 guys in a row got injured with hamate bone injuries. Egg was saying that like the way that they were like redoing their swings kind of like put the pressure on their hands. So we'll see if anybody else ends up with that injury soon. If they were all working on like with the same trainer or something. Giveaway calendar is full of fire. Did you guys add anybody this offseason? MLB, Blue Jays. I feel like you just lost players. Bassett went to the Orioles. Shane Bieber won't be ready for opening day. Still have Eric Lauer, apparently. Oh, you got Dylan Cease. I forgot about that. Lost Kyle Tucker, my favorite. Huh? Why, huh? Okamoto. Trying to see who they've added. Addison Barger. Was already on the team. Okamoto. This was not a helpful article. You got IKF. What's up, Matt? How you doing, sir? Everyone and their mother knows that USA mixed doubles curling got their first medal. We just went through MLB trailer and stuff. The trailer and like the gameplay premiere. Talking about that. Talking about Road to the Show. People in the U.S. love curling during the Olympics. Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Blue Jays to repeat this year, I think. Some figure skater who medaled, who's a huge fan of Magic the Gathering. Ooh. I just saw an article yesterday about how some guy, like, he got like third, he got like bronze or something in snowboarding or something like that. And then all he could talk about in his interview was how he cheated on his girlfriend like 3 months ago. Like, he brought it up out of nowhere and then just like kept going. Doubles is kind of random. I was watching the short track skater from Canada. It's like 6'6". Weren't paying $40 million for Bo. Yeah, totally understandable. But it's like, wait, who got Marcus Semien this season? Who traded for Marcus Semien? You got Jimenez. You're basically replacing Bo Bichette with IKF. Bullet curling. IKF from the Red Sox? Oh, never mind. Was he on the team last year? Is that what it was? My bad. I just remember he bounced around the AL East. For some reason, I thought he went from the Red Sox to the Blue Jays. Wait, so you have nobody. Who is your second baseman? You got Dylan Cease, who's going to have a 4.75 ERA. And then Shane Bieber's injured. Apparently, Jose Barrios is injured, and Angel Bastardo is injured. Jake Bloss is injured. Bowden Francis is injured. Yimi Garcia is injured. You have like 2 starting pitchers to start the season. Savage is available, I guess. You got Barger, Clement. Okamoto's probably going to start, I guess. Your outfielder is going to be Schneider, Springer, Varsho. Interesting. Bro is such a casual, bruh. Fill the 3 infield spots. I feel like Jimenez is the only one that can play defense, right? Is Clement good on defense? I'm trying to undo my casualness. What are we up to tonight? I'm about to head off in a few minutes. We were just going through the MLB The Show updates, talking the show news. Yeah, if you have opinions, I'm definitely down to chat. My TLDR, if you want to go back, feel free, but my TLDR is that I'm excited to try some of the stuff. A lot of the gameplay updates that they had were nice for me. Big zone hitting is attractive to me because I think like it's going to be good for people that like to jam the PCI. It's going to be good for if you can adjust your sensitivities on your controller. There's certain things that I think you can do with it. And I think it's going to close the gap on wherever your limit was. Like you might be worse on the difficulties that you were good at already. Like if I was good at All-Star and Hall of Fame, I feel like I might get worse on those difficulties, but I think it'll make me better on Legend, for instance, which could make it more interesting for me to play more because I can do more at a higher level once I get there. But there's a lot of tests out. That could be true or it could be not true. As long as you can't swing and miss on a good, like you guessed the right quadrant and you have good timing, as long as you can't swing and miss on something like that or consistently like pop up or something, I think it'll be good. But if it's like one of those things where you guess right, you time it up right, and you still pop out a bunch, then it's not going to be great. Because already like goods line drives in this game are only like, they're only like 500 batting average or something like that. 500 or 600 batting average. So half the time you're still going to get out. But if you get line drives on like most of those, it's going to be worth it. And you can power swing with less penalty than zone hitting. So there's a lot of possibilities. People are hating on the graphics. There's a lot of talk of the graphics. It's really all I've been seeing. And I wasn't expecting to see it out of many content creators. I see it all the time from like people in the comments throughout the years. Like that's always been something that people have said, but I'm surprised to see it like from content creators. The same guy who did the cheating got disqualified from an event for accidentally firing his competition gun at his hotel room a few years back. Oh my God. And yet he's still here. Been playing OSU to train my reaction time. 1,000 rating, here I come. Honestly, Jackie, big zone hitting might be the thing for you too. I have a feeling it can help you pop off like me. It's always weird to me. It's generally, well, it's funny too, because like, I think they would have, but I think because of all the limitations of graphics in the last couple of years, like, I think the reason why they haven't done anything with the graphics is because they've hit their limit on what the game can actually handle, because all the stuff that happened with like frame rates dropping in Major League stadiums, like they can't increase the graphics after that. Like, what are they going to do? So I think that's why they took a pause on it. We will see if they ever have a good balance of like maybe PS6 can handle something like that. But there's really nothing they could do, even if they can improve the graphics on their side, like it wouldn't make sense for the gameplay. They already have to nerf the graphics. Like if you play an offline game and then go to an online game, you can tell that the graphics are different. So they've already got like some kind of reduction in fidelity, visual fidelity when you get on into online games. And it would be kind of a waste of time to improve the graphics to then just have to reduce them again. That being said, like when you're playing offline, maybe that means more to more people, because like the people that care about graphics more are the people that are playing offline more. So maybe that's not a fair like statement, but we'll say that the art team and the programming team are separate. So they should have people working on that kind of stuff all the time. The graphics is a big reason for lag. If they want Switch to work with PS5, they need to keep them lower. That's also true. I forgot that they're still doing old gen on Switch. But have you guys seen the Switch trailer, by the way? And I think it's Switch 2, by the way. Have you seen the Switch trailer for MLB The Show? It's actually crazy. You would think going next gen that graphics would get noticeably better once the old gen was excluded. True. Because like, yeah, even though I forgot about the Switch stuff, like they do have a separate game. Like the Switch game I think is completely different. I don't know about online, but wrong answers only. It's incredible. It's the best thing you've ever seen. In fact, let's see if they have it on here. Nintendo Switch gameplay trailer. I don't think it says Switch 2, just Switch. Let's watch it. PC and mobile versions needed.
Every legend starts somewhere.
Just to be clear, this is on
Not in
1080.
the spotlight, but in the work. One swing, one pitch, one moment at a time. It starts here. Bus rides, long days, late nights.
Look at their
Dialing
faces.
in your swing, leveling up your look. Chasing your first, hey, that is special. Then it clicks. You're
That's
locked
it.
in. Every swing
Crazy
smooth, every pitch
CeeLo.
nastier. Every moment, straight heat.
CeeLo Green.
Big moment for the closer. He delivers.
I'm selling my Xbox for the Nintendo.
Okay, now you're repping your country. Different pressure, different pride.
What is this, bro?
Different pride. This is the world stage. Or
I don't think I'm exaggerating. Crazy Britney Spears. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say these graphics are worse than PlayStation
That's just the
1.
beginning. Cooperstown is the goal, but you gotta earn
I
it.
think for sure this is worse than PlayStation 2.
It's your journey. Your
I think this is like on par with PlayStation
your
1.
show.
Possibly worse.
Make your mark. Become a legend.
Between 2 and 3, I think it's worse than 2. Let's look at a trailer for a PS2 game after this. I think MLB 2007.
Boy, take
I guess should I?
And fooled as he
PlayStation
swings
2.
through the curveball. 2 down. Brian Schneider. will
It doesn't
step
actually
in
say.
now.
This has got to be PlayStation 2 because it was on Xbox before. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Between 2 and 3. You're right. I think this is placeholder graphics. Love looking these games up though. By the way,
Might have wanted to go up and
so
get
funny that it was
one,
shot
but why
shot for shot remake. Right? They just use the same audio and everything. You're right though. It's between 2 and 3. This is actually worse than I remember. Because
2-0.
I'm pretty sure MVP 05 was better than this.
In Washington, who writes the rules? Big corporations that control politics and members of Congress.
I'm not logged in here.
Today we're playing MVP Baseball 2000.
There's like there's a little bit of like
And by the way,
softness
I'm totally a
to some of the
baseball
characters in here.
That one felt good. We have our first base hit.
There was like a fluidity to this game that just made it look a little bit better.
Now we have the pitcher up here.
There are a lot of like,
Way in front of that one.
what's it called? There's like a lot of sharp
I
edges
think
on
I'm
the
in front of
circles.
that one again. Is
I
he going to
think
get
this
there?
guy looks
Nope.
like he's playing
This
off
guy
of
gets
a
low in his
emulator or
batting
something.
stance. Yeah, it's going to be a double play, isn't it? No, it doesn't matter. They only needed the one out. We only have one hit.
Okay, but I wonder if I can look up MVP. No, MLB The Show 09 PS2, because this is the PS2 game that I played.
Crossed away from where Shea Stadium used. Swing and a miss on the
No,
slider,
still
and
worse.
that's out
Okay.
number 1.
This is a lot worse than I remember. I remember it being like pretty good
2 out, nobody on.
on PS2.
Done.
This is surprising, actually. This is much worse than I remember.
Now a ball hit
But yeah, definitely
High and deep
PS3.
out there to left center field. Guillen is there, and that should be deep enough to score the run.
See how this looks.
Work against.
Yeah, I think this is significantly better than the Switch one.
And Holiday swings and misses and falls behind quickly, 0-2. Boy, and a good cut there by Helt.
This is a real show gameplay right here.
Swing and a ball bounced back up the middle. Here's Bartlett. Oh, too late on the throw, but that is what you call a major.
I don't know. Something about like the animations in this game just felt better.
Check this out on super slow motion. That's a huge play just to get a glove on it. But by the time he gets rid of this thing, there was no way he was going to get him at first.
Certain parts of the animations look like smoother than they do now. I think it's more to do with like the branching and stuff, that they're just like kind of going from one motion to the next and trying to blend them. That makes it a little strange, but older games had to rely on gameplay and smaller things besides the graphics. True. So they are better at those things than they are now. That, and also like you had to make a polished game. Like you didn't have an opportunity to update your game after it came out. So I feel like they probably spent a lot more time on like locking in. They probably had a whole different system on how to go through quality assurance and all that. And now they can just get away with like the crazy stuff is like a few years ago we were probably saying you could release a broken game and then update it to fix it. Now I think they don't even bother like fixing some stuff. Like they release it kind of broken. Though I will say like the last few years have been much better in terms of not having game breaking stuff going on at the beginning. But there are certain things where it's like you think that they're going to fix it in a few months and then they just never do. But again, I do think like the polish of the last like I didn't play last year at the beginning of the year. I feel like the polish on the beginning of this year was pretty good for MLB The Show. So, but that being said, I think they've changed a lot less from year to year recently. So, looking at it positively, they had an entire year to work on the next game instead of spending so much time supporting the current game. That's a good point too. That's a good point. And I think also like they have to work on a different version. So they're kind of like working backwards to it. Like they're taking a step back. So they release the game, and then the game that they're working on for the following year, they're either like starting it right away or they've already started it or they're starting it very soon. Like there's a period of time where they have to start working on it. And then some of the changes that they make, some of the updates that they do from like the beginning of the year to the next, doesn't get like incorporated into the build that they're working on. Like they start the build, then an update happens, but they don't update the new build. I think that's how it works, because there have been times where they do an update to fix something. I remember this happening with like issues with fielders not being able to make plays at the wall. They like kind of fixed it, and then the same like they then eventually they fixed it after like 2-3 months. And then the same exact issues were happening at the beginning of the next game. So those few months where they fixed it, I don't think they incorporated it into the next game. And then they had made some changes. And then in order to make those changes, they reverted it to a previous year. How it worked in a previous year. Because then the following year, they had the same issue. So there's like there's definitely like that time gets even smaller because they're working on fixing it twice basically. If they start working on it in a certain way in their new build, then they probably can't just copy and paste it. They probably have to like rebuild it on top of that. So that gives them even less time to do new stuff. Yeah, that's why I think sports games should move to a live service, because it makes a lot more sense. But I think there's other stuff that they have to overcome in order to do that. And it possibly will never happen. But they're the most ready otherwise to be a live service. You can still monetize it. I think their biggest issue right now is I thought that like when they started doing sets and seasons, I thought that was a test to see if we would be receptive to, in one game cycle, having our cards taken away from us, and so that they could do live service, because that's what would have to happen. New game, grind resets, your cards are gone, you're back at ground zero. So that's what I think. I think that sets and seasons were supposed to be a test for that, and it didn't work for them. And I think maybe the hope that they had to do a live service based off of that kind of took a step back because of the reception of sets and seasons. Live service, if they took your cards away, people wouldn't have it. Exactly. So I feel like if they did sets and seasons the right way and they like got a good reception for it, or at least like not worse than what it is now, I think they could have got away with it. That being said, like there's other games such as like Escape from Tarkov and like Arc Raiders and those extraction shooters where they do like periodic wipes, right? Like you have to restart. They force everybody to restart. And there's stuff like fantasy drafts, like your fantasy team drafts. You could do like keeper leagues. I wonder if there's a way if they could incorporate that. One of the biggest things about sets and seasons that held it back probably was the fact that it happened so often. So I don't know if it's a good example anyway. Like maybe every 12 months gets people in a mindset that if it gets wiped, it's okay. But every 2 months, maybe 2 or 3 months, getting wiped is like, doesn't feel good. So maybe it's not a fair comparison because of the time period. And I think there's other ways they could do it. I still feel like sets and seasons had potential. I still feel like it could be done for a 12-month cycle. And the benefits that you would receive for that, I think would be massive. But I think there's probably issues with like player rights and things like that. But you could probably work through that as well. Like let's say you have player rights for 1 year for a certain player. Also, this would be nice to have player rights that are not aligned with a particular release. So if you have player rights for a year, but it starts in like December, then you can stagger your player releases so they're not all at once. And like a new face coming into the game after a couple years would get people interested as well. So I feel like it would be doable. But you could just like, if you wipe, like sure, you can just put a timer on someone's card and say this card is going to be available for 1 year, or just kind of some kind of understanding that people know at some point these cards are getting wiped. And in that case, like you're not stuck in your development cycle. It may be like, oh shoot, they haven't updated the gameplay in 2 years, but then all of a sudden, like you get something way better than you would have gotten in 5 years of development instead. Because right now, that's already like a complaint that most people probably have. Like even the people that are accepting of the fact that there's not a ton of stuff that gets changed from year to year at this point. There are some people who are like, wow, this is just a reskinned game. Like there's no point in buying it. It's just a roster update, stuff like that. Those are the most like vocal people about it. And then nobody else like really disagrees, I think. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's like, just roster update. There's a few things that improve from year to year, and I accept it. I don't disagree. I accept it. I'm not going to get mad about it though, and I'm still going to buy the game. But nobody's really arguing with the people that say it's just a reskin game, like that seriously. Like on some level, everyone kind of agrees, I think, and so that's why I think it's even more of a reason why, if you were to stop doing year-to-year releases, it's almost like it could only be a benefit, because nobody's really like fighting for that 1-year release at this point. Because you already know what you get. Like, they've already established how much you're going to get year to year, and that doesn't really have to change. So, anyway, that's what I got for today. We have 1 month to go until the game comes out. I might play Star Rupture next week. We'll see what happens. They made it $10 a month. They are making twice as much as a yearly release, also true. Which means if they make it just $5 a month, I think some games will do like you get your coins back in the battle pass. They've been pretty good about doing things monetarily different than other games, but we'll see. It could be even more beneficial. I'm not saying microtransactions are good, but I'm saying at some point we have to be realistic. Whether, again, we had this conversation about like capitalism last week. We just have to be realistic of like what they're actually going to do money-wise. And if they can make their money in the way that they were already going to make it, just in a different way, and we get some more benefits out of it gameplay-wise, then it's worth it. All has been obvious times of being lazy with certain player skins that are even close to accurate. True. I think they said that they are like 2 years behind on face scans, because they do it at like the spring training of like the previous year. So maybe they're just 1 year behind on face scans. Oh, that's what it was. It's 2 years behind on certain players that, like, if they couldn't get someone at spring training, if they were either not on the team or not drafted, or like something along those lines, like for some reason they couldn't get them at spring training, usually they get into the game the next year. And then if they weren't able to get to spring training that year, it would take them to the next spring training before they get their face scan. So I think that's what they were saying. Maybe they're able to do it a lot faster now. And maybe if they didn't have to wait for a whole release, although I think they update face scans and patches now as well. But maybe that would also be easier to be able to get them to do face scans faster. Are you talking about like the actual skin tone itself? The face scans, okay. Yeah, I think that was that's kind of how they explained it at one point. I don't know if it's changed, because that was like 5 years ago. I'm sure they've gotten faster with it, because Jose Abreu was one guy who, like, for 5 years or something didn't have his face scan. Never looked even close to correct. But I think now they do some player model updates, like in patches, so that's good. But I feel like if they did live service, there would be less pressure to have like these exact deadlines, because like if you got 7 months to do your development and then you have to like package it, you have to do all of these like releases as a feature, like on a certain cadence, then you can never confirm that you're gonna finish the product the way that you wanted to. As if like you could have maybe finished something exactly the way you wanted to if you had one additional month, but because you don't have that 1 month, it takes you a whole extra year to get it implemented. In a live service game, You could turn that 12 months into 2 months. The show says in response, the Dow is up over 50K. Sorry, I'll stay out of politics. We were talking about at the end of last stream that I don't even care anymore. Like, we were talking about how it was different when I was like really trying to grind like content creation. Now it's just like I'm just hanging out with everybody that I've already met. Like, we don't really try to expand the channel anymore. And so I'm a lot more willing to talk about stuff that I wasn't before. So last week we got into a little bit of economics and politics. So it's kind of funny. But we'll keep that conversation for next week, I guess. But yeah, I hope they do some changes. I still think, like, one thing I'll say that we haven't talked about today yet is I still want a big update to some kind of game mode. Sounds like their update to the game mode this year is going to be mini seasons. We'll see what they do with programs, what they do with like online mode programs. Maybe they expand weekend classic. I don't know. They still need a big kick. And I'm hoping the PXP stuff is enough to be their attribute boost that I want to see. Because they had some nice little changes for the attributes that they talked about, but I think that PXP stuff has more potential to be what I'm looking for. If all of those do not hit, then I think I'm not gonna have too much time in the game this year, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, hope you had a good time. We will see what we play next week. It might be MLB The Show. It might be Star Rupture. It might be something else. I'll let you guys know. Or it might be last minute decision. Who knows? Good to see y'all. Hope you guys have a good night. Peace.